3:45 p.m. Bandar Abbas Naval Base, Iran. Classified. For 3 years, they had been preparing in silence. Not alone. Behind closed doors in Beijing, engineers from the People's Liberation Army quietly transferred targeting software for Iran's YJ-12B anti-ship cruise missiles, weapons capable of skimming the ocean surface at Mach 2 to strike carriers. In Moscow, technicians helped Iranian crews operate the Bastion P coastal defense batteries, the same system that had already proven lethal in the Black Sea. This was not Iran acting alone. This was a proxy stress test, a live-fire experiment to probe whether American carrier strike groups could actually absorb a coordinated modern assault. China and Russia provided the hardware, the training, the intelligence. Iran provided the blood. If it worked, the world order shifted forever. If it failed, well, that was Iran's problem. And if you've been following news out of the Persian Gulf these past 18 months, the drone swarms near U.S. destroyers, the accidental targeting data leaks, the suspicious timing of Iranian military exercises, then you already sensed something was building. Today, it broke. 4 p.m., Supreme War Council, Tehran. General Qasem Shirazi stood before the holographic map of the strait and felt something intoxicating. Certainty. For the first time in decades, Iran's military wasn't improvising. They had the YJ-12BS with updated Chinese fire control. They had Russian-provided satellite positioning feeds, temporarily patched into their command network. They had 78 Shahab-3 modified ballistic missiles, 34 Noor anti-ship cruise missiles, and a swarm of 55 Shahd 136 loitering munitions. The same drones that had already bloodied Ukraine. Total, 167 warheads and drones pointed at a single target. The USS Nimitz Carrier Strike Group, CSG-11, currently operating 180 nautical miles into the Gulf. The logic was simple and seductive. Overwhelm the Aegis math. Flood the defense grids with ballistic missiles from the north, low-flying cruise missiles from the south, drones from the west. No system in the world could solve 167 simultaneous threats from 3 vectors. America has never faced a coordinated multi-axis saturation strike, Shirazi told his commanders. Their technology was built for Cold War scenarios. Today, we write the new chapter. He paused, looked at the room, and gave the order. Khorshid, execute. 4:17 p.m., the launch. First came the ballistic missiles, 78 modified Shahab-3s tearing through the stratosphere, climbing to 250 kilometers before arcing back down. Their heat blooms were massive, unavoidable, unmistakable. Then 34 Noor cruise missiles hugged the Persian Gulf surface, sea skimmers flying 8 meters above the water, virtually invisible to ship-based radar below the horizon. And finally, 55 Shahed drones launched in silent clusters, pre-programmed with the last known coordinates of the carrier, from 3 directions. 3 simultaneous countdowns. In Tehran's command center, someone started clapping. In Colorado, in the Space Force Global Missile Warning Center, no one clapped. They didn't need to. The SBIRS infrared satellites caught the heat bloom of the first Shahab launch in 4 seconds flat. 4 seconds. Before the missiles cleared Iranian airspace. The targeting data from Chinese satellites was immediately flagged, cross-referenced, and logged as a hostile fire control signature. The AI battle management system aboard USS Carl Vinson, the second carrier 90 miles back, processed 167 simultaneous threat tracks in under 8 seconds and began auto-assigning intercept solutions. General Shirazi thought he had the element of surprise. He did not. He never did. The second Iran's engineers powered on those Chinese targeting feeds, they were visible. Pause for a second. Are you surprised that satellite detection happens that fast? Comment below. Because most people don't realize the gap between what people think modern warfare looks like and what it actually is. 4:22 p.m. to 4:39 p.m., the engagement window. What happened in the next 17 minutes wasn't a battle. It was a sorting algorithm with explosive outcomes. Layer 1. Exoatmospheric Intercept. The SM-3 Block 2A missiles, launched from USS Bunker Hill and USS Lake Erie, rose into the mesosphere and killed 61 of the 78 Shahab ballistic missiles above 100 kilometers altitude. Clean, cold, silent from the surface. Kinetic rods traveling at Mach 9 colliding with warheads. Not explosions, erasure. The remaining 17 ballistic threats screamed downward. Layer 2, Terminal Phase. SM-6 missiles handled the steep inbound tracks. 14 kills in 90 seconds. 3 Shahabs survived long enough to enter the final engagement envelope. Meanwhile, the 34 Noor cruise missiles were facing a different nightmare. E/A-18G Growlers had been airborne since the threat warning. Their ALQ-99 jamming pods corrupted the Chinese data link updates, feeding the Noor's mid-course guidance. Without updated targeting, 19 Noors flew blind, climbing erratically before splashing into the Gulf. The remaining 15 crossed into ESSM range. The evolved Sea Sparrow missiles don't care about stealth profiles. They care about radar cross-section changes at close range. 15 launches, 15 kills. The 55 Shahed drones, Iran's secret weapon, the same system that had terrorized Ukrainian cities, were decimated by a combination of CIWS and the AN/TWQ-1 Avenger systems aboard supporting vessels. At longer range, F/A-18S with AIM-9X. Sidewinders picked off clusters of 6 and 8 at a time. Final tally? Ballistic missiles intercepted, 78/78. Cruise missiles downed, 34 out of 34. Drones destroyed, 55 out of 55. Damage to USS Nimitz. Minor deck scarring from 1 interceptor fragment. 0 sailors killed. 4 lightly injured. 167 warheads. 0 impact. 0 American deaths. General Shirazi's certainty had just cost Iran everything it had spent a decade building. Tell me in the comments, were you expecting those numbers? Because this is what happens when 50 years of missile defense investment meets its first real test. 4:41 p.m. The retaliation begins. There is a line in U.S. military doctrine that Iran's generals clearly did not study carefully enough. An attack on a U.S. carrier is an attack on the United States itself. The National Command Authority authorized Operation Iron Horizon in 11 minutes. Not hours, 11 minutes. The strike package that launched was not designed for vengeance. It was designed for permanent incapacitation, a surgical erasure of every offensive military capability Iran had spent 30 years constructing. From beneath the Gulf, 4 Virginia-class submarines simultaneously opened their VLS hatches. 186 Tomahawk Block 5 missiles erupted from the water, crossing into Iranian airspace within 22 minutes of flight time. From the Nimitz flight deck, 52 Fa-18EF Super Hornets and F-35Cs launched in 3 successive waves. Each aircraft carried a combination of JDAM precision bombs, HARM anti-radiation missiles, and Stormbreaker glide munitions. Over 380 precision weapons in the first wave alone. And from the darkness nobody saw coming, 2 B-21 Raiders, launched from an undisclosed forward base, cruised at subsonic speed above 50,000 feet. Undetectable. silent, carrying 36 JASSMER missiles each. The targets? Bandar Abbas Missile Complex, 14 confirmed launch sites. Shahid Rajai Port Naval Base, Iran's fast attack boat headquarters. Fordow Nuclear Facility, Iran's hardened underground enrichment site. Parchin Military Complex, weapons research and production. Isfahan Missile Production Facilities. Karg Island Oil Terminal Infrastructure, military supply lines. 8 air defense radar stations across southern Iran. What happened next was not a battle. It was a controlled demolition. HARM missiles arrived first, silently hunting every active radar emission. Within 4 minutes of the first Tomahawk crossing Iranian airspace, Iran's integrated air defense network was broadcasting nothing but noise. The S-300 batteries Russia had supplied? Blinded. Inoperable. Their operators screaming into radios that no longer connected to anything. The Tomahawks arrived next, moving in coordinated time-on-target strikes, meaning dozens of separate weapons launched from different submarines at different times, all impacted within a 90-second window. The Fordow facility, buried under 80 meters of rock, hit with a massive ordnance penetrator delivered by one of the B-21s. The mountain shook. Seismographs in Turkey recorded a 3.8 magnitude event. By 5:40 p.m., 89 minutes after Iran's first missile left the rail, Operation Iron Horizon was complete. The numbers don't lie, and I want you to really sit with these. Iran launched 167 warheads and drones. America responded with 622 precision weapons, guided bombs, cruise missiles, glide munitions. Iran's losses: 18 major military installations destroyed or severely damaged. The Bandar Abbas complex, which took 12 years and an estimated $4 billion to construct, gone in 14 minutes. Isfahan missile production, set back by analysts' estimates of 15 to 20 years. The ballistic missile stockpile Iran had assembled with Chinese components, the components that hadn't already been fired, destroyed on the ground. U.S. losses: 0 fatalities. 4 sailors treated and released. For every one of Iran's missiles, America responded with nearly 4 precision weapons. But the real asymmetry wasn't in the numbers, it was in the outcomes. Iran's attack destroyed nothing. America's response destroyed everything. And here's the part that keeps Chinese and Russian strategists awake at night. Their technology was in that fight. Their YJ-12B fire control software, their Bastion targeting integration, their satellite feeds, all of it tested, observed, and cataloged by U.S. intelligence in real time. Every vulnerability exposed, every limitation confirmed. The proxy experiment backfired catastrophically, not just for Iran, but for the patrons who sent them into the arena. I need to ask you something right now. Did you know that the YJ-12B software transfer from China to Iran has actually been reported by multiple intelligence agencies since 2022? This scenario isn't pulled from thin air. Comment your thoughts. 6 p.m. Strait of Hormuz. Smoke rising from 3 coastlines. As the sun set over the Gulf that evening, an emergency UN Security Council session was called. Russia called for an immediate ceasefire. China issued a statement condemning disproportionate aggression. Both abstained from the vote. Neither could explain why their technology had performed so poorly. Global oil markets opened the next morning down 18% before stabilizing. Lloyd's of London suspended all new marine insurance for Strait of Hormuz transits for 72 hours. Every defense ministry from Riyadh to Tokyo requested an emergency briefing from Washington. In Tehran, the silence was heavier than the smoke. General Shirazi, The man who had felt certainty at 4 p.m. was reportedly relieved of command before midnight. Because here is the brutal truth that this scenario forces every nation on Earth to confront. Modern military power is not measured in missile counts. It is measured in the ability to see everything, react in seconds, and deliver consequences that cannot be undone. Iran had numbers. America had mathematics. And mathematics always wins. The dream of rewriting history through a single devastating strike. It died 80 kilometers above the Strait of Hormuz, scattered as debris across the warm water. So, 89 minutes. That is all the time it took. 89 minutes to launch 167 weapons and receive 622 in return. 89 minutes for 3 decades of Iranian military investment to become a historical footnote. 89 minutes for China and Russia to watch their proxy experiment fail in real time. The lesson of Operation Iron Horizon isn't about America's power alone. It's about the catastrophic cost of miscalculation in an era where the gap between what you think you can do and what you can actually do is measured in seconds and paid in decades. Before you go, I genuinely want to know what you think. Does this scenario change how you see the balance of power in the Gulf? Do you think China and Russia will continue arming Iran after this? Drop your analysis in the comments. The best comment gets pinned. If this kind of deep dive military analysis is what you're here for, you already know what to do. Like, subscribe, hit that bell, because the next scenario we're building will shake you even harder. Stay sharp, stay curious, and never mistake silence for weakness.